I'm Farhan Dalla, transformational trainer, and welcome to Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast, an invitation to take the journey towards your deepest self. It is my intention to inspire you to connect, move, and meditate. We'll tap in, tune in, and dive in, and together learn and reflect from authentic, real, and transformative conversations. Let's get started. I remember when I spoke about my coming out journey on my podcast in season 2, it was pretty scary for me. I remember feeling quite vulnerable. And when I hit that publish button and the episode went live, I thought to myself, what in the world did I just do? But I'm glad I did it. And the feedback has been great. I had a lot of people reach out to me who were struggling with their own identity. Many could relate to my story. It really made me feel good that I was able to help people in any way come to terms with their own identity. I know what it feels like to be alone and scared. I know what it feels like to worry about what your family, friends, and loved ones are going to think when they find out that you're gay. I've said it before. Our biggest fear is that we're going to be rejected. Anyway, I've worked through all of that, as you know. But then something very interesting happened that I was not expecting. And it all started with a WhatsApp message that I got from a cousin of mine. She was putting together a team of cousins to audition for the TV show Family Feud Canada. And she wanted to know if I wanted to join the team. To which my initial response was, hell no. And then I took a breath and I said, okay, let me think about it and I'll get back to you in 24 hours. Well, I thought about it and I realized that the idea of going on Family Feud Canada really scared me. And if you recall from season 2, I talked about wanting to do at least 10 things that scared me. A personal challenge that I made for myself. When you do things that scare you, it allows you to grow in ways in which you couldn't even imagine. There's always something on the other side of fear that's waiting for you. Something that there's no way that you could have predicted. Coming out on my podcast was one of them. It really helped me to become more comfortable with who I am. And because of the response that I received from members of the LGBTQ community who were struggling, and the messages that I got from people who said that my story really helped them, made it all worthwhile. But then the universe has this incredible way of creating opportunities to step into your intentions in ways in which you couldn't even imagine or think of. I saw going on Family Feud as one of these opportunities because it scared me. And though I didn't think of it myself, the universe thought of it for me. So the next day, I messaged her and I said, I'm in. Once I said yes, I didn't realize everything that I had signed up for. The audition process was really intense. Initially, as a group, my cousins and I had a virtual meeting with the producer. It's in this meeting that we are given the opportunity for the producer to see if we can play the game and if we are entertaining enough and if our story as a family is worthy of television. And there were many aspects of our story that the producers loved. We are first-generation immigrants originally from Tanzania. As kids, we watched Family Feud with our parents and grandparents, and not knowing that one day we would have the opportunity of representing our family on the show. So that was all very exciting, and the producers loved that. Then we got to talk about ourselves as individuals, and the topic of the fact that I was gay and the only member of our Family Feud team that was single came up. And I think that got the producers excited because they had never had anyone who was South Asian and queer on the show before. Anyway, long story short, after several rounds of auditioning and meetings, we got approved to be on the show, which was very exciting. We decided we were going to be all in, fully committed, and we were going to be in it to win it. We practiced playing the game and put a lot of work into it. So now here's where things get a little interesting for me and from my personal experience. The producers were very excited to have a member of the South Asian queer community on the show. It would be a first for the show. And they really wanted to make sure that, quote, my story, unquote, was told on the show. And I say my story in quotes for a reason. You'll understand why soon enough. Now, if you've ever seen this show, you know that there is a part where the host, in this case in Canada, Jerry D, goes around and interviews each family member. What you may or may not know is that the questions Jerry D or the host asks is predetermined before the show, and the answers that each of us give has to be pre-approved. Going in, we already knew the questions and we knew what we were going to say because we had to get all of that approved before we actually said it on camera. And much of that is coached by the producer. You'll know what I mean soon enough. So the producers give us the questions in advance. We kind of write out a general script about what we're going to say, and then it has to be approved by the producers and make us say it in a way in which that is going to make good television. You get me? So, for sure, we rehearsed all our answers to those questions. And in my case, they wanted to dive into my dating life as a gay man. The question was, what is my ideal date and what am I looking for? Seems like a reasonable question, don't you think? Well, things took an unexpected turn, and I'll get to that in just a second. During our meetings with the producer, he was really adamant on making sure that I had this story down-packed really well, and that I delivered it when we went to tape. I'm starting to feel the pressure during our meetings. And on the day we taped, we arrived at the studio. It was 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And as we entered the studio, we were greeted by the producer. He came out and he said, Farhan, we need you to deliver this story. We want this story to make it, so you've got to deliver it well. Okay. So now the pressure is mounting even more, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's a lot of responsibility that's coming up here for me in regards to this. I'm definitely excited about the fact that I'm getting an opportunity to represent the South Asian queer community, but also my family. But the way there was so much pressure and emphasis on this particular side of my personal life was making me feel even more nervous. I was already feeling the pressure of having to play the game, but this was adding another layer of pressure. Up until now, I had only talked about my sexuality publicly on my podcast. But now I was going to talk about my personal life in front of a live audience and a camera that was going to air the episode on national television. My mouth was going dry. My palms were sweaty and my heart was pounding. I excused myself from my family and I went for a bit of a walk. I got some fresh air and then I came back with my game face on and ready to play. I didn't want to let my family down. And I know in that moment, my priority was trying to stay focused on the game, but I was also thinking heavily about making sure that I delivered my story the way the producers, quote, wanted me to, unquote. You see, they really wanted me to sound like I'm picky about the type of person that I wanted to meet or date, and that I'm a very particular person. Hence the coaching. This is how it all went down. Before we taped the actual episode where we're playing the game, we went through a rehearsal. And at that time, they brought the microphone to me and they asked me the question. And I was ready. They asked me about my dating life, and I say exactly how I had written it down, and I said everything the way it was approved by the producers, like we did in our meetings. Well, when we were done and we were backstage, the producer came out to me and he said, "That was perfect. I delivered exactly what they wanted. And all I had to do when we taped the show was to say it again, just like that." Okay. So I'm feeling somewhat relieved in some ways. The only thing I have to do now is go out and do it again when we tape. We get back out and we play the game. The cameras come up to me. We're taping and it's game time for me. In other words, I have to now say what I said before, but with the cameras rolling in front of me and a live audience. And I thought it was going well. But the host decided to dive in a little deeper and ask me things that I wasn't quite prepared for. He went off script, so to speak. Long story short, he asked me if I was on any dating apps, and I had mentioned the names of some well-known apps that I had been on in the past. Once my segment was done, we continued to play the game. So my mind was focused on the scoreboard and coming up with my answers and everything that happens when you're playing Family Feud. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's very stressful. You have to keep your focus on the game. There's a producer holding up signs telling you what facial expressions to maintain, including make sure you smile, etc. There's a lot going on and you have to be focused. And guess what? If you've seen the episode, then you know we won. We not only beat the other family, but we won in the fast money round. We won $10,000. I mean, what a high. I still remember like it was yesterday. Racing hearts could probably be heard a mile away. We were so excited and thrilled. We did it as a family. We did it for our ancestors and relatives who we watched the show with growing up as children. We knew this was a big deal. It wasn't just about the money. You can check out my Instagram and scroll through and see this segment of us when we won. It is so exciting to watch, and every time I rewatch it, the thrill and the excitement comes back. In fact, in that moment, we had no time to celebrate our big win. We had to rush backstage to get changed into our next outfits to play the second game where we would get paired with a new family to compete with. So while I'm in the changing room, I hear my name and asking if I could come out. I'm half dressed and buttoning up my shirt. I come out and I was met with the producer and the executive producer who wanted a word with me. And this is how the conversation went. They said we needed to do my segment again in this next game. I'm like, what? Now we just won $10,000. So my heart is racing. I'm full of excitement. My adrenaline is at an all-time high. And then I get the news that they want to shoot my segment a second time. You see, when the host of the show asked about what dating apps I was on, because I had mentioned certain names, they could not allow or be able to use that segment. So we had to do it again, and the host was going to ask me the same question. And I had to repeat what I said minus the topic of dating apps, and not to mention any names of any apps that I was on. But here's the thing, and this is where the coaching part was amplified. They wanted me to sound more particular and more picky about the type of man that I'm interested in and what I was looking for. They said, we want you to really sound picky. Now, if you know me, you know that's not really me. But I understood television and I understood why they were doing it. And yes, it made me feel very uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie. But I was faced with the pressure of doing it all over again. So without saying anything to the rest of my family, we went back out and played the game again. Now, for the third time, they came around with the microphone and the cameras were rolling and the host asked me the question again to talk about my dating life and what I'm looking for. I repeated what I had to say, and I delivered the way they wanted. At least I tried. I'm going to play for you the clip that aired. Let me preface this by saying that this is their edited version that ended up in the final cut.
Farhan, yes. Tell us about your dream date, what you're looking for in a partner.
I gotta say that I am proudly the G and LGBTQ+. Yeah. And I do have a passion for fashion, so my man's gotta dress really well. Yeah. Like, I'm talking Met Gala red carpet ready. And, I'm not too particular, but I want to say he's got to be like Ricky Martin.
Well, we got a whole national audience just heard that, so maybe we get some calls.
Okay, so you've heard the clip. Did I sound picky? I don't know. Probably. Was that really me? Partly. Yes, I have a passion for fashion, and the Met Gala is probably my favorite event for fashion. And yes, anyone who knows me knows my love for Ricky Martin. The edited version made me sound very superficial. I had said a lot more than that. However, what you just heard was all that made the final cut. I felt like I needed to take back control over my version of what I'm looking for in a partner. So I later made a post on Instagram where I clarified and said that I had stated a lot more than that. I also said that I want a man that is kind, generous, fun, enjoys travel, and is humble. I also added that one of my life goals is to see as many beautiful sunsets and waterfalls around the world, and I would love to have a partner to share it all with. On my post, I further added that I want someone to create a legacy of love with, and to be with someone that together we leave this world in a better place. That family and community is important to me, and I desire a higher conscious soulmate partnership. Deep, right? I know, but that is me. Furthermore, I feel most supported when I am seen and heard. I want someone to be able to witness me completely. My desire in a partner is for someone who can mutually hold space and be fully present, to ride the waves high and low, and so much more. All potential partners, please reach out to me. Please and thank you. And where is my Ricky Martin? This was my most challenging experience to date, in the sense that I really appreciated the opportunity to represent the South Asian queer community. But in some ways, my story was perhaps misrepresented, possibly even exploited, to make good television. When people got a slice of my story, it didn't give them the whole picture. It's hard enough to find opportunities for people like me in media. So to be misrepresented in a way is frustrating. There's not a lot of opportunities for South Asian queer people in media. How many people do you know that are South Asian and queer on mainstream television right now? I can name maybe a couple. There's Tan France on Queer Eye, Cal Penn, who was on Big Bang Theory and many other shows. And there may be a few others, but not a lot. When I was cast on the show In Shape with Sharon Mann in 2001, I was the first South Asian to enter the fitness world in Canada and maybe the US on television. The show aired in both countries as well as the Caribbean. When I got on the Reebok Master Trainer team, there were no South Asians on the Canadian team. I feel like much of my life I've been pushing and breaking doors down in order to create opportunities because of the lack of representation. Entering careers where I didn't even think that there was a space for me or that I would even be welcomed, and to feel like I belong. There was no one that looked like me on TV back then, but even now, 20 years later, not much has really changed. With Family Feud Canada, it seemed like the doors are opening more than before, but I worry about how myself and many others are being represented. It feels performative. And that's the reason why I really wanted to use my podcast to continue to tell my story in my own words. I have no one to edit or coach me on my delivery. I do want to say that there was a positive aspect to this whole experience. The one thing that I was not expecting was that I grew even more comfortable in being myself. Don't get me wrong, I'm very comfortable with the fact that I'm gay and South Asian. But to be able to talk about myself in front of a national television audience allowed me to feel even more comfortable with who I am. I feel more confident, and I didn't even think that that was possible. I do appreciate how this opportunity allowed for more personal growth and for me to be more comfortable with who I am. When I first went public on my podcast, I recorded those 2 episodes of my coming out journey in the comfort of my own home and in the safety of my own environment. But being in front of a live audience like that and knowing that that episode was going to air for all of Canada to see was the game changer for me. And for that, I am grateful for the experience. Doing things that scare you will lead you to growth in ways that you could not have even imagined. If I had not said yes to Family Feud Canada, I would have ended up saying no to $10,000. The pride that I felt for the legacy of our family and for stepping into my confidence and wholeness as a South Asian gay man. And so, my friends, overall, I'd say there was a lot to be gained by going on Family Feud. I have no regrets about that experience. And I am looking forward to doing more things that scare me. And maybe I'll come up with some things, or like in this case, maybe the universe has some opportunities for me that I can't even think of. To my queer family out there, how do you feel about representation? How do you feel about the way in which the media has represented us or isn't representing us? I want to hear from you. Drop me a line, send me a message, and if this podcast resonates with you, please share it with your friends and loved ones. Thank you. I'm Farhan Dalla. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode of Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast. I hope today's conversation has elevated you in some way and inspired you to connect, move, and meditate. I'd really appreciate your support by following and rating this podcast. Come back soon and join me for another transformative conversation.